Imagine this. You walk into a room full of strangers, and within minutes, you're the center of attention, effortlessly connecting with everyone. They're laughing, nodding, and hanging on to your every word. Sounds like a dream. What if I told you this isn't just a fantasy, it's a skill anyone can master? That's The Promise of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, a book that has transformed the way millions of people communicate and build relationships. And today, I'm going to break down exactly why this timeless classic is still as relevant as ever, nearly 90 years after its release. Let's kick things off with a question. Have you ever struggled to connect with someone? Whether it's a boss, a colleague, or even a friend? What did you do? Because this book is packed with strategies that could completely change how you handle those situations. First, let's dive into some background. Dale Carnegie published How to Win Friends and Influence People in 1936. At the time, Carnegie was already a renowned public speaking coach, helping people overcome their fear of speaking in front of audiences. But he realized something bigger. People didn't just need help speaking, they needed help connecting. So he took years of research, real-life examples and practical techniques, and distilled them into this book. Fast forward to today, it's sold over 30 million copies and is one of the best-selling books of all time. Why? Because it taps into the universal human desire to feel seen, heard, and valued. Now, let's talk about the core themes of the book. At its heart, How to Win Friends and Influence People is about understanding human nature. Carnegie believed that the secret to winning people over isn't manipulation or flattery. It's genuine interest and respect. He breaks this down into 4 main sections. Fundamental techniques in handling people. 6 ways to make people like you. How to win people to your way of thinking. How to be a leader without giving offense or arousing resentment. Let's unpack these, starting with the first section. Fundamental techniques in handling people. Carnegie offers 3 key principles here. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Give honest and sincere appreciation, arouse in the other person an eager want. Think about that first one for a moment. When was the last time someone criticized you? How did it make you feel? Carnegie argues that criticism puts people on the defensive and rarely leads to positive change. Instead, he suggests focusing on what people are doing, right? And building from there. It's such a simple shift, but it can have a massive impact on your relationships. The second section is all about making people like you. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to be more likable? Carnegie shares 6 principles that can help. Become genuinely interested in other people. Smile. Remember that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest sound in any language. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. These principles might sound basic, but think about how often we forget them in our day-to-day interactions. For example, how often do you really listen to someone without interrupting or planning your next response? Carnegie's advice is a reminder to slow down and focus on the person in front of you. Here's an example. Imagine you're meeting someone new at a party. Instead of diving into your own stories, what if you simply asked about their hobbies or passions? I once tried this at a networking event, and the person I spoke with told me later it was the best conversation they'd had all night. Why? Because I genuinely listened, and that's rare. Have you ever had a similar experience where just being attentive made a huge difference? Now, let's move to the third section, How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking. This is where the book gets really fascinating. Carnegie introduces techniques like avoiding arguments, showing respect for the other person's opinions, admitting when you're wrong, letting the other person feel the idea is theirs, dramatizing your ideas to make them more compelling. One of my favorite takeaways. Here is the idea of letting the other person feel ownership. For example, instead of telling someone what to do, you could present the situation in a way that allows them to come to the conclusion themselves. Not only does this build trust, but it also increases buy-in. Another great tip from this section is about avoiding arguments. Carnegie explains that even if you win an argument, you often lose the person. Instead, he suggests finding common ground and building from there. I tried this once during a heated work discussion, and instead of proving my point, I asked questions to better understand the other person's perspective. Not only did it defuse the tension, but it also led to a solution we both felt good about. The final section of the book focuses on leadership. Carnegie's philosophy is that great leaders inspire and uplift, rather than dominate or criticize. Some of his principles include: begin with praise and honest appreciation. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing someone else. Encourage improvement by making the fault seem easy to correct. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. These aren't just tips for managers or CEOs. They're principles you can apply in your family, your friendships, or any group setting. For example, imagine a friend who's been struggling with a habit they want to break. Instead of pointing out their failures, you could highlight their strengths and encourage them to build on those. Let's add another layer to this discussion. Why do these principles work so well? The answer lies in psychology. Carnegie understood that people are driven by emotions more than logic. By appealing to someone's need for recognition, respect, and understanding, you create connections that go beyond surface-level interactions. Think about it. How much more motivated are you when someone acknowledges your efforts compared to when they criticize your mistakes? Now, let's talk about why this book has stood the test of time. One reason is its universal appeal. The principles Carnegie outlines aren't tied to a specific culture or era. They're rooted in timeless truths about human behavior. Another reason is its practicality. This isn't a book full of abstract theories. It's a handbook for action, filled with real-world examples and step-by-step guidance. But perhaps the most compelling reason is its focus on authenticity. Carnegie doesn't advocate for manipulation or deceit. He emphasizes the importance of sincerity and genuine interest in others. In a world where so much communication feels transactional, his message is a refreshing reminder of what really matters. Another way this book has influenced me is in public speaking. As someone who often shares ideas on this platform, I've learned that connection is more important than perfection. Carnegie's advice about showing genuine interest in your audience, using stories to captivate, and focusing on the listener's needs has completely transformed the way I communicate. Have you ever had a similar experience, where a shift in your communication style made all the difference? Let's not forget the ripple effect of these principles. One person practicing these ideas can influence an entire group. Imagine how workplaces, families, or communities could transform if more people embraced Carnegie's approach. The beauty of this book is that it doesn't just help you, it helps everyone around you. Before we wrap up, let's talk about some actionable takeaways from the book. First, focus on being genuinely interested in others. This means asking questions, listening actively, and remembering details about people's lives. Second, practice giving honest and sincere appreciation. A simple thank you or acknowledgement can go a long way. Third, work on avoiding arguments. Remember, you don't have to win every debate to make progress. Fourth, use storytelling to make your ideas more compelling. People connect with stories on an emotional level, so don't be afraid to get creative. Fifth, lead with positivity. Whether you're giving feedback or motivating someone, focus on their potential rather than their shortcomings. Finally, commit to small, consistent changes. These principles don't require a complete personality overhaul. Start small and let your actions compound over time. Thanks for watching my video. Hope to see you again and have a great day.